Okay, so welcome to Where's My Sage? I'm Mike with my wonderful co-host Kristie London, and Mike does it again. Forgets to start the show. We've been talking for a good 5 minutes. We try to do a tech show. I am just there. Yes, Max was on time. He was early. MD was ready to rock out. John was here. Melissa, thank God. I looked over and said, Larson's not picking on me yet. What's going on? So we try to do a tech show.
Damn it, Michael. We were doing so good too.
I'm like, where is everybody?
You even got me doing the Italian laugh, snort, laugh thing. You suck.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks. I mean, at least everybody, oh my God. I'm bragging about having a new setup. I don't have my touch screens, and I look over and I'm like,
and I told you said, I can't mess anything up. This is great. I can't do this again. I said, wait, the night is young. Look what you did.
I didn't see.
So our guest today asked about you being an IT guy. No, he's not an IT guy.
Okay. At least Larson went 10 minutes without, and he was using StreamYard before me. So now my green screen's in and out. Oh. So, again, welcome to our show. Where's My Sage? So we're doing great. So we're coming to you from eight different locations tonight. Yes. Yeah. It's going to start blowing snort bubbles in a minute. Yeah. Melissa says it was a test to see if we'd stick around. We get it. Yeah. So we're back. And again, we're back on Facebook after the requests. We're coming to you from Christmas pages. I just got to get this while you're getting yourself composed there. Kristie's pages, her Blue Eye Empath on YouTube and Facebook, her business page, Tactical Bigfoot Research on Facebook and YouTube. Where's My Sage? Of course, because that's who we are. On Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter tonight, and later tonight, I will be putting everything up to Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes. If you're listening on the audio,
at least he may think he is. We'll see.
I have 3 other computers to the right of me. Something's going to work tonight.
It doesn't make me feel any better. It actually makes me feel worse. It's just more for you to screw up.
Okay. So.
Sorry. Love you, Michael.
Yeah, it just left over from the weekend. So again, please like, share, subscribe. No, I'm not. It's just me. Again, the old shows you can find on YouTube and at your favorite podcast locations. Tonight's gonna be one of those nights. I hope not. We have to use the explicit language thing, but if I break something, it might be my turn. Kristie had an event we were talking about, how great it was coming up, and we've got a guest, so we'll kind of do a quick wrap around. Tim that we had on a couple of months ago talking about his story with the photographs and stuff. He has got a Parafest coming up on March 4th, and Kristie will be there doing gallery readings. And are you about ready to take over there on there?
It's in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I'm traveling for this one, you guys. It's not New York. So please follow me. And like I was trying to say earlier, take a look at this banner that Tim put together. Do you guys see the faces on this banner? Like really and truly and honestly, for my face to be up there with all these people it blows my mind. It truly does. And it's a huge compliment to me, and it's an honor to be able to be among this group. So really looking forward to it. Everybody is offering different things. But here we go. You guys know how my voice gets. But it's such a great cause. And, Tim does such a great job spreading the word and trying to support the animals and the shelters that take care of them and rescue them. And, he has a wonderful story, about how he was saved and how his first dog, Murray, rescued him. That's Murray up there. So please, if you're in the area or if you want to travel and you're looking for something to do at the beginning of March, come out and see us all there, because it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a fast weekend, but it'll be fun.
Yes. And I don't have to get stuck in a car with you this time for 10 hours. So,
well, it won't be 10 hours because this time I can go through Canada.
Okay. So,
Wow, he's so rude, isn't he?
I kind of think
Drunk ride you've ever had. I don't want to hear it. You get to listen to my music.
you get to listen to my music. Yeah.
No, nobody wants to listen to your music.
So we got a cool guest tonight.
We do. Yes,
and we have Scott Tompkins from the Bigfoot Mapping Project. He has a Bachelor's of Science degree in GIS from the State University of New York at Cortland. With over 15 years of GIS field experience, Scott is well versed in the perspectives and high value quality of geographic data. So we're going to be bringing Scott on, and I think this is a great topic for all of us when we get into the Bigfoot thing. Scott, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. If you're I'm sure your tech's working. How are you doing tonight? And he's muted, so he's learning from us. So
yeah, I was muted.
Mike's rubbing off on you.
I was laughing so hard for the last, just watching everything unfold, realizing we weren't live. It's great to be here. Actually, it's really funny.
Thank you for
I'm already having a good time. So yeah,
never a dull moment around here ever.
No,
we try.
Right.
So and it's nice to be talking to two fellow New Yorkers. I've got to say, I'm coming in from Houston, Texas, but it's nice to be talking to two folks from my home state. So
cool.
It's
Very
a
cool.
nice treat for me.
Excellent. Thank you.
And now we actually have the whole state pretty much represented.
Yeah.
We've got Hudson Valley, we've got Kristie in the Falls, and I'm stuck in the middle. I mean, we got awesome.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I have so many questions tonight.
I'm ready.
This is what I'm going to do tonight until I have my 2 cents.
Because I've been thinking all day about this.
He's been so excited. He's like a little kid in a candy shop. It's awesome.
Welcome to the comedy show, says Johnny.
Yes. Yeah.
Clearly.
Scott, you have no idea.
Yes.
Right, guys?
This is great.
Angela, we don't need an alarm clock. I just need to hit the right buttons. So let's get into what GIS is for those folks tuning in right now, and then let's figure out how you got into the Bigfoot topic.
All right. This is I'll start with GIS. So GIS is Geographic Information Systems, and to put it in context, you probably use GIS every day. Your Google Maps, your DoorDash, your E911, your weather is GIS. So anything you can tie to a location, put information in context of a map, is GIS, Geographic Information Systems. And then you can also tie demographics and geographical statistics to the map. You can do like I do. I just posted before the show a bunch of maps looking at wildlife corridors. You can track wildlife and conservation. And as long as you can put all of that information, again, in the context of location, that is a geographic information system. So that's what GIS is. It's using computers and statistics and software to get information from geography in a nutshell. Yeah.
So that's your everyday gig. So how did you get pulled into the Bigfoot topic?
I had to take a deep breath because it's kind of a long story. But so because of my job in the field, I was doing geophysical exploration, and what it brought me to a lot of places across the U.S. So like Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Texas, you name it, anywhere there's oil and gas. I was out doing seismic exploration in the field, talking with people and mapping out those projects. So I would get to learn the area where we were looking and exploring like the back of my hand, down to the topography, the individual land parcels that people owned. And as part of that, I had to talk to a lot of landowners. So when you're out there sometimes these projects took 2 years. So I got to know these people very well because I was embedded into their community. As it's very noticeable, there's hundreds of guys, trucks, helicopters flying around. People are going to be interested in what's going on. So I was a project manager at the time, and I had to talk to everyone. So if you can't tell already, I like to talk. So I got to get a lot of stories from these landowners. I can see. Hey, Kristie, just smile and put up with this.
Don't you worry. You know, I'll get in there somehow. You guys know me. I will get in there.
Yeah. I got to talk with a lot of these landowners and get to know them pretty well. And when you get to know people well and you're talking about their land, they start to open up about the history of it and their family stories that are associated, because they like to share. They're proud of their land and they want to show you areas on their property that, you know, might be special or where things happened. And inevitably, at some point, we would get on the topic of weird stuff that happened on their property. Like, you know, my uncle so-and-so, when we settled this property in Oklahoma, he was a Sooner. He got here and he saw, you know, this creature on our property right over there. Let me come take you. So we would jump in the side-by-side UTV and drive. A lot of property out in Oklahoma is very large. So we would drive 6 to 8 miles across this person's ranch, and they would take me to a ravine where this supposed sighting happened, right? And tell me all about it. And that happened in almost every state that I worked in, from Pennsylvania all the way to West Virginia, Oklahoma, Texas. And it sparked, in the back of my mind, it seeded an idea about crowdsourcing and creating a database. This touches back on my profession, creating a GIS database, a geodatabase of these sightings and putting them into a standardized format so that we could really do some analysis, you know, against a map. So that's how I came up with the idea. And then quarantine rolled around and I finally had enough time in front of a computer where I wasn't out in the field working or anything like that to actually build my idea. So taught myself how to make an app. Thank you, YouTube. And just rock and roll, built it and put it out there. And here we are. So happy to be here.
Awesome.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah. Very interesting.
So I really definitely want to go over the app here in a second, but
Sure.
What was the kind of the most wacky thing you heard out there, you know, for you know, sighting or experience on a piece of property?
Let's see. West Virginia. It's not a Bigfoot sighting. So are you looking for a Bigfoot wacky sighting or just crazy?
No, just crazy. I'm coming back around. You'll see in a second.
All right. West Virginia, without a doubt. We shot seismic. I was in Big Chimney, West Virginia, just outside of Charleston, on the Kanawha River. It's spelled Kanawha, but you say Kanawha for those West Virginians out there. And we were in the mountains, dirt roads on the edge of the mountain, barely maintained. And there was a beautiful piece of property, green grass, manicured lawn. And I went to permit, you know, speak to the landowner, knocked on the door, and a gentleman came around the corner wearing his best sundress and a floppy hat and nothing else. So it was quite of I don't care what you wear, but I just didn't know where to put my eyes, right? So right, I was just like, hi, sir. Should I come back at a different time? Like, this is bad. So I left the letter there, and I said, you know what? When you're ready, we'll be back. So that's probably one of the weirdest things that jumps out to me. I haven't told that story in many years. Honestly, it's funny what comes back into memory. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
I had if you want me to share a second one, another one just popped in.
Oh, by all means.
Sure. Yeah.
You never know who you're going to run across.
Right.
There was a landowner in Oklahoma who wasn't pleased with some of the ruts that the equipment left, and he ran over them in his tractor, and it was very bouncy. They hadn't fixed them yet before he went out to work in this field. So he called me, and unfortunately, part of my job was dealing with people that were upset, right? And he called me very upset. So I went out to visit with him, and he decided that telling me about the bruises on his butt wasn't good enough. But he didn't give me any warning that he was going to drop trowel middle of the conversation and show me the bruise on his rear end. I mean, we were in his barn. and next to the tractor, and he's telling me, he was like, just turned around. I'm like, I didn't know what he was doing, and boom, full moon in Oklahoma. So, you know, you never really know.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can't make this stuff up. I'm
No, you
telling
really can't. You really can't. I wish it never happened, frankly.
You're missing the sundress right about then, right?
Yeah, I mean, on a scale of sundress to full moon, I don't really know.
So we take sundress and full moon.
Yeah.
And then we got to go for the feet.
Yes.
So,
okay.
So now you have all these crazy sightings and everything. I keep getting where I am here with my lights. You decide that Bigfoot is going to be your topic to work with.
Seems the tamest after my experience. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it the something you like something you brought up from your kids and got interested in the Bigfoot subject, or did you say, hey, this is a good thing to kind of practice your skills on using different formulas and stuff?
A little bit of both. So I grew up in the 90s, right? I'm 36 now, actually, December. So I grew up watching Finding Bigfoot, right? And Monster Quest and all of those shows on the History Channel and Discovery Channel. And grew up always interested in wildlife and hunting and being outdoors. So Bigfoot was always fascinating and always there in the back of my mind anyway, just because it was such a big part of my childhood, like you mentioned. And the other part was, like you said, honing my skills on building an app and building a map that translated a lot of information and put information in front of people that, you know, not everyone here is going to go out and find the least cost path analysis that Esri did and incorporate it in their research. So my thought is I can bring a lot of these geographic information files, for example, shape files, different TIFF images, tile layers and things, and put them into the map, or make maps and share them on Instagram for people who might not even know they exist. So it's a little bit of taking my skill set and applying it to something that's a bit of a passion project, right? More than just for a paycheck. It's actually just a creative outlet that I hope to help people with and solve a mystery, right? Find Bigfoot.
Yeah. I mean, that's how I got into doing the pink hair or the UV thing, was just say, hey, can I take my outside stuff? So, I mean, when we look at, you know, as they always talk about the citizen scientist or something like that, but I mean, you have a background in this, and, you know, we work with a group of folks, Scott and I, that have some other skill sets that help us with some of that data and that are in the field quite a bit. And I just put a link in for your website, bigfootmap.com. And if it's all right with you, I'd like to share your website, if that's okay.
By all means, please.
Quick share screen here. And
he's like, promote me? Well, yeah, please.
Yeah,
hello.
why would I say
so
no?
that's why we're here. So
what?
all right. So if we bring up your map here.
Oh, geez, here we go. Brace yourselves, you guys.
This is going to be a long show.
I already broke everything tonight, so we should be good on me breaking stuff. So
well,
get rid of that
again, don't talk too soon. But, you know, the night is young.
So this is, I mean, you have been building this map. So where did you collect a lot of this data for this map?
I have to give credit where credit is due. There is a research website that stopped posting in 2016 called Mangiani's Bigfoot database. So what they did was aggregate a lot of different historical Bigfoot sightings, from BFRO to the Kentucky Bigfoot Research Organization to Pennsylvania Bigfoot Research Organization, etc., into one source. And I hopefully am doing them honorably and carrying the torch forward by appending the red sightings you see in the map, which are the crowdsourced Bigfoot sightings that are collected via the Bigfoot Mapping Project survey. So there's two parts. The neon kind of glowing sightings that you see were all contributed since I started the project via the crowdsourcing survey. And then everything else is from an aggregate historical database that just stopped, right? So I just picked up where I think they left off. And I hope, like I said, to, continue respectfully and definitely give credit for the work they did. I don't want to pretend that was all me. I just put it in a format that I could analyze. I basically cleaned it up. That's it for the historical database.
So these really bright green ones,
mm-hmm.
What is special about those if somebody was looking at it?
Now, actually, this is your... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, I was just going to say, for folks tuning in now, this is Scott's website, but he has the app on iOS and Android, correct?
That's right.
Yep. And I put the link in if you want to kind of take a peek, as we're doing it here. It's on there. I have the app on my phone and I absolutely love it from when we're out there. And then I'm going to let you explain a little bit more on maybe where I should go and put us there, or if you want to share from your side, we can do that as well. So.
Sure. I think the first thing you asked was the symbology, right? So what does everything mean on the map? And I think a lot of people miss those buttons on the left. If you click the very top one, the little brown circle there, the legend, that is probably the most, aside from the information in the map, you really don't know anything until you hit the legend, because then you can decipher what all the symbols mean in a map, right? So that's one of the most important things. And what those big, bright neon symbols mean is, for example, the green ones you see in the map. Those are reports that were submitted in the last 48 hours. So those are very new reports. If the point is glowing orange, for example, that is a sighting that actually occurred in the last 7 days. And then the blue reports just kind of fade away. They get colder. And those are just reports that happened in the last 10 days. So you can, without having to click around, the idea is that you can jump into the map and see the newest information first being pulled to the surface, right? By all these neon glowing, hey, look at me, I'm a new sighting points. So some of these actually I haven't even had a chance to read. So
right?
This is a wild card. I haven't read these yet. So some are just minimal information. Some are very thorough. So this one happened, it was submitted in the last 2 days, but it occurred June 6th, 2021 at 10:34 a.m. So that immediately puts the location into a time scale, right? So now in the data, I've done some analysis like that where I can split the data up and slice it by timeline too, right? So now instead of looking at all of the sightings at once, we can split the database out by sightings that happen on the same day or in the same month, in the same season, etc. So there's a lot of facets to the way you can analyze data here. And this one, I don't know if I read this yet.
This is what I find interesting is the park. Did you see see what the park is underneath there?
Yeah, I think that's actually very interesting. It's a parallel to one of the most the hottest spots in the U.S. in Washington, Gifford Pinchot.
Yeah. I'm like,
so when do I get to? Well, I'm reading the map right now. So I've got information already, things that stand out to me, and I'm curious to know if those areas on the map are something that you can validate. Does that make sense?
I think so. What's one of your observations? I'm curious. This is the fun part. I like to hear what people get from the map.
For my Bigfoot folks that tuned in, Kristie is a medium, and she freaks out my research partner who hasn't popped in yet, who is a field biologist, and there have been many times that she will describe right where we are without knowing where we are without any trackers on. So
this is the first time for me that I've been that I've been on the phone with a medium as well. So this is really fun.
Anything goes. As other guests have found out on this show, you never know what's going to happen.
The best part is
I'm
we're
just
live
curious.
too. That's great.
Yes.
Right. So I was especially drawn to, and to me, it's a link: Chicago, Detroit, Buffalo. Or yeah. So, but actually, it's funny because I wrote down Buffalo, but I wasn't looking at Buffalo. I was looking at what was above Buffalo in the initial part of the map. But it was almost like a link to me. Yeah, go back to the way you originally bring that part up. Toronto, that was what it was. But I wrote Buffalo, so that's not a mistake. Excuse me. But so Buffalo/Toronto. Like, I feel like that's a hot trail. I keep calling it a link because I feel like it's a link. I really got to get some wireless headphones for this. And then closer to Chicago and Detroit, I saw something like a whirlpool. That spot's also significant. I don't know if you know anything about that. And then the number 100 and the number 8. Might have been the number 1.
Okay. I don't know. That's a lot to absorb.
Okay.
That's a lot to absorb.
I just didn't know if I said Chicago, Detroit, Toronto, Buffalo, you'd be like, oh yeah, so cool things are happening over here. That's I just didn't know if you
No, there is one interesting thing I think I just posted actually. Literally just before the show. So I don't know if you could have seen it, but I did a New York's Bigfoot byways post. And I kind of touched on, it's interesting you brought up Buffalo because there are byways that are connected to Bigfoot sightings in Buffalo, near Buffalo, just surrounding Buffalo. Maybe I can send a screenshot of it to our chat and Mike, you can bring it up. Would that work? Or I can send you a link.
Actually, if you can share it from your side if you want. Or we can do the link. So I'll stop sharing from my side.
Let me share.
Yeah, I'm gonna shrink that one.
Present. Okay. I'm gonna present my.
Look at these guys hard at work over here, everyone. Look at them. They're
this
just
is
focused and they're just here I am.
Now Max, she says that Kristie freaked her out. Last year I was in Florida. We were on a trail and she literally described the area we were in straight out and freaked him right out.
So it's funny. I hadn't done Michigan in this analysis yet, or Illinois, so I don't know about Detroit or Chicago. But Buffalo is right over here, right? And you can see. I can't zoom in very well. Do I still have that open? I closed the MXD, but you can see what I've looked for are these least cost path connectors, and what they do is they connect what's called a hub, right, of the highest conservation value. And what does that mean? It means it can support the most animal population. It's the best habitat, in other words. Okay. And what I've done is pulled out all of these connectors that are within a half mile of a Bigfoot sighting. And in New York, a few of those are right outside and around Buffalo. So that's one thing that jumps to mind that I've worked on recently in Buffalo are those connectors. And
interesting.
I would love to count up. I'm going to do this after the call because they're all individual segments. So I know, I wonder if there's like how many there are. I'm going to count them up. I want to know what the connection is to your number. So I won't be able to sleep now. Thank you.
My bad.
So
I just really have this strong feeling like that's a hot link, like that strip. Now, those 3 places are connected somehow because I keep seeing like back forth, like almost like a worn, like a pattern, like from going back and forth.
StreamYard popped up for some reason. I don't know why. Yeah, but that's okay. How do I stop? Oh, stop sharing. Here we go. Cool.
So that is interesting because I think what I'm looking at least along like John's got down there with the Alleghenies, you have some major trail units that run right along, and they'll actually hit, the old railroad beds that run right along that southern tier. And there's some other stuff that runs pretty close parallel up there in that Buffalo area. That's kind of interesting.
Well, I have all that information, so now I'm inspired to do yet another map of that whole area too.
And for all of you people out there going, well, she's from Buffalo, and she says, I will be the first to tell you how truly ignorant I am when it comes to geography, the history, different things like that. So anything like this, no. I am totally not the person that will ever know or be able to tell you anything about anything like this. In geography, for me, never was a So no.
I'm gonna dig. I'm gonna figure that out. If you don't mind.
Well, I can't wait to see what you figure out.
Yeah, I would love it if you shared exactly what you're thinking in some quick notes, so I can take them with me after the show. That would be great.
I'll send you a picture of my notes. I have them written down.
Wonderful, because now I just won't be able to let it go. It's going to be
your wife. I'm really sorry.
Yeah.
I apologize.
Oh, she did this the high check one night. It was, we get off at like 1 a.m. or something like that.
Yeah. I had the pleasure of talking to him a few months ago. Imagine talking to one of you, Monster Quest, right? Like, imagine getting to talk to somebody who produced the show that you watched that inspired me. Now it was like a full circle moment. It was very cool. So great guy. Really, really cool.
So our chat, if you have any questions, please throw a comment in there.
Yeah.
Take a look. Let's see what we got for Scott. So you get this data and you have to hand type all of it in, or when the submissions come in, does that do it for you with the app? Does it self-populate the data, or you have to put everything in yourself?
So what a user, somebody logged on, or a witness would see in the survey is it looks like a form you fill out, and you can just, type in, fill out yes, no questions. And I've made it hopefully pretty easy where you can attach pictures and audio and everything that I would want to see collected from a sighting, that information. But what that does is I've designed it so it feeds on the back end right into a database. So everything you put in is standardized in that form, so it can go stream right into the database. I don't have to retype it all. It's very efficient. So I can get straight to, as soon as you hit submit, generally it pops up right in the map, and I get a notification that somebody put a sighting in. So,
and this is at least from the website.
Yep, that's it.
And it seems pretty straightforward for somebody like me, especially. Like, so if anybody truly, just some random person out with their kids for a hike or for whatever has an experience, it seems very easy to be able to go on, right?
That's the idea. It's designed specifically to be for somebody to log in and be intuitive and not have to struggle with an interface and know how to use software. Just get in there and fill out the form. And the idea is collecting information in a simple way, but yet standardized so that we can actually use it. So one of the challenges that a lot of researchers that I've talked to have is, like you were saying, Mike, they have a lot of anecdotal evidence that's in, a hard copy format, or it's in a Word document, or it's in something that isn't immediately accessible in regards to analysis, right? You have to be able to translate that into something that's standardized. Standardization, we like to say, if you put crap in, you get crap out, right? So the idea of starting with something that's standardized is a big part of this study, so that now we can take all of that information that people share in their stories, which we still capture, but we pull out a lot of the attributes that we can analyze, like height, date, color, all of those things that you're scrolling through, and do some, geographic analysis on that. But we still capture those stories. So you can scroll through the whole map and see both. It's really kind of a hybrid, but on the analysis side, it's important for standardization.
I find it very interesting that you have on here the question as to whether or not they could tell if it was male or female.
Patty inspired that.
Wow. Who's Patty?
How many have we done? Yeah.
I can see Mike's like, what?
Yeah.
the Patterson-Gimlin footage. The most.
Listen, I've never heard it described like that. And if you ever said it to me like that, I was probably tuning me out.
Excuse me.
I gotcha. My bad. Okay.
The night I had the boys on for Bigfoot, Kristie was out, so it was
yeah, he had Bigfoot night a few years ago.
It was
that's one of the questions that Patty inspired, because in the video you can see clearly anatomy that signifies she is a female, right?
I thought maybe it was like pro sundress. It wasn't a sundress. Sorry,
that's gonna haunt me now, isn't it?
I couldn't help it.
Again, I'm kind of gonna swing back to that in a second. So, the interesting thing I noticed, though, going through your login there and the data, didn't notice something for weather. Did you have a location for weather and that kind of thing
I did. I recently, I have to bring it back in. I recently rebuilt the whole map interface so that it's much faster. It streams better. It's optimized for mobile. And one of the things that was a challenge, I did have weather radar and what else did I have in there? I think I still have wildfire boundaries and earthquake locations and things like that. But I just have to add those layers back in. I did have weather at one point. But it just needs to, I just need to find a good service that can stream in and update and doesn't lag, right? It slows the map down if you're streaming data. So
gotcha.
I'd rather cut it out than be slow for now.
No. I just I've used the app, so I kind of just asking, for the folks that are tuning in and stuff like that.
This is fun. Yeah.
When I put everything together for our project, I really sat down and said, I took from what I learned from the guys from Nestor when I first went out the first time with our folks up here in the Northeast. I mean, they had weather radios and they had this, and where was the moon, where were the compass headings, and all that stuff. And when we did ours, that was a big thing that I put in when Doug and I sat down and we worked with the biologist, was what other data that we can get. So do you have a sample of something like that? Because like I said, I take it out in the field a lot when I'm driving around, and I threw out the old Google map thing because it, you put a pin down and you can't see the rest of the map once you put something in there.
Yeah.
But do you have a quick cheat sheet on there if somebody were to say, hey, what questions should I really be asking myself when I want to put this data together to spread or share with everybody, so we have that data there? Did I miss? I always tell everybody, don't just take one photo, take 30 or 40 photos, or I tell folks to 3D scan, and God bless, Matt Larson there with Central Florida, and we've really pushed a lot of that extra data stuff. And that's just probably from hanging out with Matt, because he runs around with I don't have a glass here, a gimbal, and to take everything down, so we're definitely get a film in. And then
no, that's a great idea. I don't have a cheat sheet outside of what I collect in the survey for sighting, but I'd be very open to advice on that, because I'm not an investigator per se. My expertise is data, but if I could add something that came from somebody who's an expert in that field, and it would help advise and make it available in the map and in the app as well, I am very open to that. I think that's a great idea, actually. Gimbal 4 stars.
It's my boys. I'll be seeing him in a couple of weeks. It's just that little extra that tidbit that can help our friends, our biologists, when our scientists say, well, we don't get this data. Well, you've got the mapping going. I use Access a lot for my stuff, but not a lot of people want to figure out how to build that. And your app is so much easier than somebody trying to build an Excel document or an Access document to get that data in. I mean, the good old fashioned notebook, making sure they have those couple little things there. So I'm going to let you go. I hear you got a thought there. And
I had a thought. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt it. You sparked a thought. one of the things that you touched on, I think, is like all of this environmental data, like the moon phase, what was the weather, all of this is available historically, and we can do something basically called enriching the data, where you now tie spatially all of this contextual data from wherever you can find it to this point, right? So you can, now we have in the sightings, we have a day, we have a time, so we can go find any of that chronological data or time data and tie it to that point very easily.
Okay, so I'm gonna hit Max's and I'll come back up to Matt's. Can we search certain parameters of an acre, years, or of an area, years, months, types of sightings? Is there data for yeah, peripheral? Yeah, there's Mike
Peripheral?
not being able to. Yeah,
Peripheral.
That's peripheral. Okay.
I got you, Max.
Yeah.
Peripheral boys.
Well, I was trying to get that New England accent in there too. Princeton sounds.
Sure you were. We'll go with that.
This is why I have her to talk and do my grammar. You know, throw that master's degree out the window. You know.
I'll add that to the map. Like I said before, I'm rebuilding the map on the website, which it's much easier to add new functionality to the website. So I can certainly add like a time slicer there where you can query things based on time and date, Max. As far as peripheral data, I'm not sure what you mean by peripheral data. Do you mean like data, contextual environmental data? I'll leave you time to answer that, and then I'll move on to footprints and things. Yes. So that's one of the things that's in the legend, the historical database and the newer sightings. Yes, you can see by color and symbology whether it's a footprint, a sighting, or an audio, like a howl or something like that on the map. Well, I try to make it very easy to visibly digest what's on the map without having to hit the legend. So hopefully it helps. And I'm not quite sure. Hopefully we can come back to what you meant by peripheral data. I'm curious about that.
Yeah. Let's come back. So definitely the map is cool, easy to use. It's cool to read reports about sighting in my country and in Europe. That's from Ivana. Cool. Maddie's asking, can Scott cover what's needed to make the website, and how do we manage quality control?
Sure.
Data is good enough. So Matt's doing a whole thing in Florida right now. He calls it his corridor. So he's kind of
I've seen it.
How things.
I've seen the YouTube videos. I'm happy to cover what it takes to make the website. There's a lot of components. First, I'll start with the data. In order for quality control spatial data, you have to make sure things are all in the correct projection. So think of a projection as like you have a curved globe and you need to make it flat for the screen, right? So a projection is making a curved area flat. And basically, if data is not in the correct projection for the whole context of the map, it's going to show up in the wrong place because you've done the wrong math, right? So that's the first thing for quality control, is making sure everything for a web map is converted to, it's called WGS84. That's the spheroid that they model the globe on, WGS84. And it's basically a web standard, right? So then the actual submissions, I read them. That's the best way that I can. I mean, aside from putting automatic keywords that trigger, a filter or something like that, reading them is the best way for quality control. The other thing that I quality control, which happens frequently, is people put their sighting, they forget to update the location in the survey. So it'll show up in the middle of Africa, for example, because that's the center of the map by default in the survey. So I capture people's email when they submit a sighting. So if there's some stragglers out there, now everyone's going to go look at those, right? But I need to move them. So I will email, I'll leave them in Africa as like a quarantine zone, right? And when I'll reach out to those people that have submitted a sighting that showed up in the wrong place, and ask for like a screenshot or coordinates so I can go in and update it and put it where it needs to be, and we'll go back and forth to make sure it's correct. And if I don't get a response, sadly, those incorrect locations do get taken out of the database. I would love to keep them, but it's not correct information technically. So I just export them and save them off to the side in hopes that those folks get back to me. Yeah, a lot of quality control. And then on the technical side, did you want to know technical things as well?
Yeah, what did he have here? You know, I have this extra little thing.
He
here.
said, what does it take to make the website?
Data good enough? Yeah.
And
how do we?
Sure.
How do we manage quality control?
To make the website, Wix and Esri is my ArcGIS Online is the software that I use. They have a subscription, software as a service, and everything you need is in ArcGIS Online to build the website, combined with Wix to get it out there on your specific URL. And to be honest, I didn't build websites before quarantine, so I learned this all through YouTube. So it's very, very doable.
All right. Follow up there is, I meant, how do we know our data is good enough?
Well, that's kind of we'd have to look at the data and go through it, which I'm happy to do with you. If you email me, my email, anyone can email me. It's scott@bigfootmap.com. If you have questions about data or how to standardize things, how to clean it up, how to get it into good enough shape to start analysis, and maybe how to save things, put it in the cloud, all those types of things, I can certainly answer those questions, and I'm happy to do it. Anything you need, just feel free to email me, and I'll go through. Even if you want to share your data set, it can be confidential. I'll look at it for you and give you advice, whatever you need. Happy to help. That's the other part of this project is being a resource for the community.
And we appreciate that. And then the follow-up from Max was, didn't see one, heard one, had a curious experience. So I think that's going to be his periphery, that kind of that other stuff. And that'll definitely take me back around to my other questions.
Yeah, that's actually a great segue into, and a great question. So those kinds of sightings, if they don't have attributes that we can analyze, they are valuable in a location, perhaps. However, they will likely fall out of the data set once we get enough samples from like a big data science principle. So, for example, you get 10,000 sightings, and there's going to be information and sightings that are erroneous that make it through or don't have all the information you need. And they're going to fall on either end of the bell curve. But what we're really going to get out of it when we get enough samples is the meat, right? The answers that coalesce and happen time and time again, and we can see the trends and patterns that are consistent in the data. Yes, we might miss something that is valid in one of those offhand peripheral sightings, but if it doesn't have information in a way that we can understand it in the model that we're going to build, then it's going to fall out. So I don't think peripheral information and reports are necessarily damaging unless we get overwhelmed by like a troll or something like that. But I would just revert back to an earlier version of the database. That would be identifiable. But here and there, I don't think it's going to skew the results of any analysis we do. Unless if it's on a big enough scale, right? On a small scale, yes. But when we get to thousands and thousands of reports and we start looking at it that way, a small percentage of reports like that won't skew the results.
I'm going to get to Liz's in a second here. Have you ever worked with like Wes from Swatch Metrics and kind of looked at his data sets for some of the sightings to kind of take the map pinpoints, the sighting pinpoints, and then kind of add what they've got for some of the data collection?
I've been dying to, honestly. I think he took one of my maps and did something with it a long time ago, and we've talked, but we've never collaborated. And I think he is a statistical genius from the things that he puts out. So I think combining his knowledge and the information I've collected along with the GIS skills I've got, I think we could come up with something very interesting. I just haven't had the chance. So Wes, if you're listening, please shoot me an email.
Right. Yeah. I'll send them a link as well.
Yeah, please.
It was very interesting. A couple years back, we were talking to Shane and those guys with the OP, and literally driving around one night, and Shane was giving us a whole thing about their nests, and that we're sitting there, and I'm like, well, what does New York got? And I took our 2 biologists on our team, and next thing on Wes is sending it, we're like, okay, what we got in the Northeast, what they've got in there, and you're like, wow, that was kind of funky. That data set was just, we probably would have missed it if it wasn't for some of the fine points that he had, and some of the
I believe it,
the plant life that we were all missing. We're looking for something here and here, and what was that commonality? And folks, when you're helping Scott build his map, you're helping all of us. I mean, that data is so important, and I guess that'll flow to Liz's.
Yes, I love this question because I was biting my tongue, so I didn't ask this too soon. You should be proud of me.
And I will let you read it so I don't mess it up, because I'm having one of those days today.
Well, and before we read it, I just have to say, does anybody else feel like the word peripheral is just as bad as trying to say Worcestershire sauce?
Did you hear me struggle with it? I was like, I tried really hard to sound smart.
Help it. I'm like, that other word that, there's just those words that we struggle to pronounce. It doesn't matter how much we try. Okay, sorry. I had to get that off my chest.
I agree.
So,
but I want to hear it with Max's New England accent. That's what I want to hear as he's cutting his vegetables
in the middle of the woods.
If you watch some of the corridor, go back and watch Chef Max.
This guy is incredible. I don't get it,
guys.
But I would go camping just for the food. So, all right. So this is what I always, this is my side of things too. So this is what I always ask. So Liz wants to know, she says, hi there. Did you have a feel for how many individuals we may be looking at here, with the understanding that some feel there's interdimensional travel possible for our Bigfoot friends? Thank you.
That's, I don't have a number per se, but I did do an analysis that starts to look into and understand the scale of the population of Bigfoot by connecting sightings that happen on the same day with a line and measuring the distance between them. So, for example, if there's 2 sightings that happen on the same day and there's a mile in between them, was it the same Bigfoot? Was it a member of the same family, etc.? Or if there's 300 miles in between them on the same day, it's unlikely, right? So that starts to go towards the scale and the spread of the population. But as far as a number goes, I would say I really don't have enough data yet to really put my opinion out there. I'd just be making a number up. But I have started to think of ways to figure that out. One of those ways was looking at distance between sightings on the same day to understand the coverage of the sightings on that may be one creature.
So what is your opinion on this? And I mean, maybe you kind of answered that already by just what you just said, that you're going to, you obviously are going to look into this, right? So something must have sparked that with you. So talk a little bit about that. What's your stance on this?
My opinion on whether I view Bigfoot as like an interdimensional creature,
or even we'll go with an interdimensional.
I wouldn't say I'm opposed to anything in that realm. However, what I have seen in the data, and this is my background, right? So I haven't been able to pull anything out of the data that shows me that as a solid fact, right? Yet. I'm open to it. However, I view Bigfoot as a flesh and blood creature, just like a bear or a mountain lion or a human for that matter. And I try to approach the analysis that I do from verified wildlife study approaches and demographic and other studies that have been done and produced results on flesh and blood animals. So that's my take for now, until I see something different. But
so that's interesting that you said it that way, though, because interdimensional can also mean that they're flesh and blood, but are capable of jumping, traveling, right? Much like a lot of people I know, remote viewing, travel, work, astral projection, right? So what do you think about that with Bigfoot? Because I'll be very honest with you, the thing that stumps me the most with this, as far as it being just like a hardcore flesh and blood, is that I've never heard or seen anything physically solid, tangible, to convince me that it's definitely a Bigfoot. I know, I believe totally that there's something, but I feel like it's so much bigger, and it's not just about Bigfoot, which is why I'm so intrigued by it. But that's also because I know what I'm capable of and what other people I know are capable of. So I feel like it's all possible. If we can do it, why can't another creature do it, and vice versa?
I like that question. It's not something I've really put a lot of thought to via the project, right? And
now you're really not going to sleep.
Right. I would say that I I don't understand enough about that to be honest, to really even figure out a way to incorporate that into what I'm doing. I would need to learn more to really.
And it might be something separate altogether, right? You might not be able to incorporate it.
Yeah. So I don't want to get on here and make claims that I'm just sticking with what I know and understand. So it's very interesting to get everybody's perspective, when we talk with them, to see like where they stand and why they do, because quite honestly, in my opinion, all the different perspectives are very valid. They haven't been disproven yet, right?
Exactly. So, and none of it's been proven. Like truly, right? So I mean, that's the whole idea of this. Like it just keeps it going.
And you're sharpening my my wit. I'm trying to come up with and verbalize my thoughts quick enough. So this is a good question. I like that you asked that. Go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
Jeez, Mike felt left out.
No. I hit the mute too soon. So this is going to spin me back around on this whole thing.
Don't get dizzy.
Jay was in earlier. He and his daughter had sighting of something up in Wisconsin recently. Jay, I heard my first scream with him in Pennsylvania in the Chestnut Ridge a couple years back. Orbs were seen ahead of time. And, we get the folks. And again, I'm a flesh and blood camp. My archaeology background, I want to be, that's where I'm in. But there's a lot of our biology friends that are more on the paranormal side of the house. But those little things that, the orbs or the ball lightning or something like that, again, in the data set. And an interesting thing you mentioned to us, earlier, is that you were going around and doing these different site surveys, and some of them had caves or gullies or something like that. And how many of those paranormal or Bigfoot sightings were happening around those mines, those caves, that kind of stuff. And if you put a separate subtitle, because there are those groups that say, hey, are they underground? Well, they vanish. Well, we know in certain parts of the country we've got cave systems, we've got underground waterways. I mean, you go back to the whole Last of the Mohegans. Where'd they go hide? They went hid behind the waterfall. And I've had a chance of running an ROV up behind a waterfall. There are some places that there's plenty of space to move that. So again, are those some of the other subsets that could be put in?
Absolutely.
And now to really spin back all the way around where I was going to go, and I see there's some Worcestershire comments in here, so we're going to hit that definitely too.
See, I started something there.
You did.
Yeah. Well, because I started down the Bigfoot path, Kristie pulled me into the paranormal path. And my two boys are in here, and we talked about ley lines at one time. and laying that stuff over the top. And like you said, you were getting a lot of, stories about different paranormal experiences. Have you thought about putting a paranormal app together for that side of the house? Where we could maybe plot out, is there a bunch of haunted houses in a line, or certain times a year or something like that. I'm still on let's get the biological stuff down, but having a partner that does a lot more of the paranormal stuff and a lot of more of the ghost hunting stuff is that there, or even throwing in the when we look at the historical site, like the other night we were talking with Ryan, and I know he's got some sightings that go, way back 1800s and earlier. If we take some of those old, let's say the serpent mounds or the old villages, that are those something that you could put in as a separate layer in this GIS, and somebody could say, hey, we know that there was a village. So when I look at my area, and John's in my area too, if we look at the historical stuff, there is a historical Seneca tradition of a group that kind of came out of the West that was a big hairy person. It's in the history of the area with a couple other quote unquote cryptids. But taking those historical sightings, or down along, when I was looking at your map, down along the bottom half, the Tioga River, and going down into Pennsylvania, that whole area, just between the Finger Lakes and the Catskills, you have, the Spanish Hill Giants that were down there, but then you have the Susquehanna people who were taller, to take a look at that. But then again, we've looked at other things where it's gone to cannibalism, as shown epigenetic changes in people. But those are little things that, looking at some of the mapping stuff. So if I just made a big Rorschach.
Can I interject one thing? Because I don't want it to be limited to, like you mentioned earlier, like if there is like an area where there are haunted houses or haunted buildings or locations. It doesn't always have to be a building. It can also be land. It can also be, an area, because there have been so many times where he's just out doing it. Like, and obviously, like Mike and I live an hour and a half away. So when he goes off and does his Bigfoot thing, I'm not always with them. I only go on occasion on these things. And I either get a random text, what do you think about this? And I get a very, like a one word or a number, or, and I could be shopping in Walmart or Wegmans or something. And like, I just get this random, you know Wegmans. What I mean? Yeah. But it's like a lot of times, or even not, I can just know he's out there, or they're all out there. And then something will come to me. It's not always about a structure. A lot of times it can also be about an area or land. And then they're pointed in that direction. So, metaphysically speaking, it could be, and if there was, for instance, a village in some, an area at one point, why couldn't they, if they indeed are much like us, right? Why couldn't they be drawn to the energy, even if that doesn't, if that town or that village isn't there anymore? The energy would still be there.
I think if I'm taking that all in correctly,
that was a lot. I kind of said a couple of things there. But
yeah.
I didn't want it to be just specific to a structure, though. That was my biggest point. You know what I mean?
Like Gettysburg, right? Gettysburg is a great example.
Yeah. Yes.
So
yes. But it doesn't have to be where something necessarily happened. It could just be that nature and the land and the energy in a place is what caused it. It doesn't have to be centered around death.
Like the Ridge.
Yeah, I think one of
Yeah.
the things that jumps to mind immediately when you're talking about the energy in an area is gravity and magnetic data, right? So you can tie, like, that's a lot of people can feel, that's true. No matter, it's a fact. People can feel the difference between different magnetism in an area, and we have tools and ways of analyzing that and recording it and actually putting it on a map, right? So a few months ago, I did a map that tries to find patterns in gravity and magnetic data in relation to Bigfoot sightings, right? Is there something that does center those sightings that we can't necessarily see physically, which would be the magnetics or the gravity signature beneath the surface of the Earth? So that goes along with karst geography, right? And cave systems. All of these things are really tied together physically, and to your point, metaphysically. They're my way of interpreting that would be to look at the magnetic data and gravity data, because I think a lot of people sometimes attribute metaphysical to those things that are a result of the different magnetic signature in that area. So,
sure.
But I think I don't want to leave out your question, Mike, as far as capturing, regardless of what I think, right? Can the platform capture that information in a way that helps people draw their own conclusions in an unbiased way, putting that data on the map, categorizing it as this is what I saw while I was there. This is what I felt. This was strange. Here's what happened. Here's the history of the area. So kind of like some anthropology. All of that is possible. I haven't thought about doing it as a layer or part of this app, but I think it would be interesting to see and kind of make, like you said, a partner site where you could marry the data sets, keep them separate for analysis purposes, but then marry the data sets when as needed on different analysis and put them on the same map as two different services. Sure. I think that's a really interesting idea. I tend not to think about metaphysical things because I have a science background. I work at a science company, and that's just not the way I approach the world. So it hasn't occurred to me to be 100% honest.
No, I don't try to convert. I just try to open up, expand. Yeah.
I'm just, because we do such. I mean, our topics. We do energy healing and paranormal, the Bigfoot stuff, survival guy. Our naked and afraid folks that join us. So it's always interesting to kind of look at that data, and even taking the biological aspect, or you looking at the mind stuff. You're looking for your particular items for work, but is there salt nearby? Is there other minerals that would, if we look at, the African elephant, they're going to a certain area for certain minerals at certain times, or even our salt licks with their deer, having some of that extra little data in there to what's drawing, the animals there. And I think you mentioned recently, trying to talk to some of us about even some of the other sightings, how many big cats we see, or that, what's supporting those items, those things there. So I love that you've got the data in here. Like I said, I've been working on trying to build up an Access thing, but not everybody runs Access. So having your app and having sent everybody to you with one central database is awesome. And again, Wes with his database. We do have a couple more questions if you have a minute or two with us.
I have all night. Well, my wife already expects me to be here, and I'm going nocturnal. So she's like, so I'm not gonna see you till tomorrow. And I was like, probably not.
Yeah.
Wow. So that's a very understanding lady you have there.
And I talk about, Doug's here, so talk about the ridge. And again, there's another interesting area, if you guys get a chance to spend time, down in that Chestnut Ridge area, and it is just, you've got everything from Washington to UFOs. Everything's in between. Well, and now we've got books on Washington with UFOs, but that's a whole other story.
Yeah. Didn't he see them where was that? It was Gettysburg, wasn't it?
Well, he saw them there. Then we
weird that came up.
We sat through that presentation with the guy in Pennsylvania. There's a book out there, Presidents and UFOs or something like that. But supposedly there's a whole battalion. They go a certain way, if I remember the story, and they see somebody on a white stallion, and it's him. And then supposedly he shows up again in front of, I can't remember, it was Eisenhower or somebody in that time frame on a carrier, and then he sees an Indian chief and that was supposedly shot at. It just
I would love to know if you remember the title of that book. I'd love to read it.
Yeah, I'll look. I gotta find it. But there's that. I mean, there we go. We take the subject of UFOs for years that was taboo, and now you can't turn on the news and there's another report.
The Tic Tac.
Yep. And Melissa said, make it simple. It's Worcestershire sauce.
Thanks. I'll remember that.
Worcestershire. And then they got the Boston in there. Worcestershire. So
love it.
It's the Nancy stuff. Let's see. And then, of course, because you said TikTok, we got to go to the tick meters. I don't know. Kristie uses, and we occasionally use the EMF stuff to kind of look for energy and that kind of stuff. But I don't think anybody's really putting any of those reports into you with using EMF or anything like that when they're out there, or Geiger counters, to go along with their sightings. Not that I haven't taken a Geiger counter with me on a trip, but that was an interesting afternoon because nowhere near the nuke plant did we get any ticks, but in 3 or 4 other areas that have spiritual stuff, we got some pretty good energy returns.
I think the Canadian Shield's pretty radioactive, if I remember correctly. Captured a lot of radioactivity in the granite there. So, believe it or not.
Whole spin with the granite and Pleiades. Let's see. Penny wants to know, what would you do if you came face to face with Bigfoot?
I can tell you from experience. So
I knew we'd get it on.
I don't bring it up unless I'm asked, right?
Good question, Penny.
I don't want to be one of those guys that's, that's the first thing I don't want to always bring it up. But if somebody does ask me, I will share it, and it's I can't definitively say it was a Bigfoot, but I've never been. So if you can't tell from behind me, I like to hunt and fish, and I'm constantly in the outdoors. I mean, from Colorado to New York to Texas, and there's not much that I'm not familiar with as far as wildlife, right? In general, their behavior, their sounds. What they look like when they're active, things like that. So I was in Sealy, Texas, and this sighting is in my map. You can find it. I actually I linked to a podcast so you can listen to the story, but you can have it firsthand here. I was walking, it was bow season. It was October, and I was walking out after it was dusk, right? It's too dark to shoot. There's shooting time. It's with a bow anyway. Once it's too dark, you're not going to be accurate enough to take an ethical shot. So I was walking out, and I was coming out of a river bottom. It's like a pass-through property, and a lot of deer travel along the river bottom as a corridor. So I was walking out. I went through the barbed wire fence, and the river bottom was on my left, and about a 200-acre pasture is on my right. And in front of me, at this point, as I'm walking out, my truck's probably about 100 yards from me where I access the river bottom. So I'm walking, and the barbed wire fence is on my left shoulder, and it's that kind of blue-gray night, right, where you can still make out a silhouette well enough, but you couldn't make out distinctive features, right? So I'm walking, and I'm just kind of like, aloof, right? Not really thinking much other than I need to be quiet on my way out. And in front of me, just off my left shoulder, I look over about 30 yards away, and there is a black shadow blob behind a scrub bush, right? Everything there is sharp, right? So I don't typically go running through the bush anyway, right? Because you'll get cactus or prickers or something, right? So, and not to mention snakes that are out. So I was just thinking, it's probably a hog. I'll stand here. I'll let it go on its way because it's quite large. Like this, I just harvested one a few weeks ago that was like 300 pounds, right? So I'm thinking I don't want to tangle with this in the dark and I can't outrun it to my truck. So I'll just wait. It doesn't see me. I won't startle it. It's probably the worst thing you can do. So I'm just like, all right, it'll go on its way. Standing there, and it doesn't really move. So I'm like, all right, let's go. It's getting dark. I want to go home. Didn't get a deer. So it stands up. And at this point, my whole, it stood up, and it was football player with pads on wide, and the bush and grass was at its navel, right? Like, this is grass that's fairly tall on me. It's like, I'm not a tall guy, but it's like 3 to 4 feet tall, this grass in this field. So deer disappear in it, right? And it stands up. And this is where I can answer your question. What would I do if I came face to face? I would stand there, and literally I said, whoa, like, just like that. Whoa. That's all. I mean, talk about all the preparation, hunting, like, calm, cool, collected. It went out the window because the buffering stopped, right? And I realized what I was looking at. I just was in awe, like, whoa. So I said that audibly. It squatted back down, didn't move. Like, it must have thought, like, I don't know, maybe if it can't see me, it's that guy over there can't see me if I squat back down. So if what felt like an eternity goes by, and I finally I literally, you might have heard this story before, Mike, which is why you're laughing, but I said, I say out loud again, I go, I can see you, just like that. And it stood back up and turned.
It responded?
It stood up, yep, and bolted through just a thicket full of, I later went on in the daylight to look at where it ran through, and there's no way. I mean, it's a wall of bramble, and it just broke through it. And there's no way a person at night without a headlamp on could run through at that speed without falling. And from that moment, I mean, I called my wife, I called my mom. I was like, you're never going to believe what I saw.
Good boy. Called your mom.
Right. Hope she watches this. I'm going to share with her. But I mean, that is my I have an earlier sighting when I wouldn't even say a sighting because I was so young, and in New York, actually, in Beacon. But that is my most definitive moment of not understanding what was going on and really tying it to Bigfoot. And of course, it was after I started the project. So here I am. I'm like, great. You know, people are going to be like, sure, the Bigfoot mapping guy had a sighting, right? Like, nobody's going to believe me. I wish somebody was with me, but I will tell you, it was unexplainable. Where I hunt is on the rancher. It's an 11,000 acre ranch. There is nobody there. There was no cars. There's no paths in and out there. The only access is the way I get in. It's just unexplainable.
So I have a question now.
Yeah.
So what did it look like and sound like when it took off running?
It was definitely, so like I said, it was hard to make out details, but you could clearly see a silhouette of what I was describing before, a very, very wide figure and almost no neck when it stood up. And I could tell it turned around and bolted, and I couldn't see clearly the lower part of its body, but the top, it wasn't moving like violently like a person who would need to run through that. It was just it was smooth. Yeah, it was just so smooth and monstrous, loud steps. Just
that's what I was wondering about, but I didn't want to be specific and ask that. Like,
the adrenaline does affect your memory, right? So to me, what sounded beyond loud could have been just like not a traumatic experience, but that's how I remember it, right? And but clearly, you could hear like a person would be sound running.
That's what I was curious about.
It didn't sound like a deer would sound like they run. I mean, it was clearly different, having heard both. So, and hogs, when they run, not that a hog would stand on its hind legs, and there's no bear where I hunt. And if there are, it's very rare. I mean, it would be an event if there was a bear in Sealy. It's just not heard of.
Really?
Yeah, and hogs are loud. You know it's a hog. They roar, they grunt, they squeal, you know, and generally there's more than one in this area. So, I mean, running through the mental list of what it could be, it's just, it's unexplainable. And I wish I could definitively say I saw 100% it was Bigfoot, but in my mind, there's no other explanation.
How tall was it?
If I had to guess, quite tall, 6.5 to 7.5 feet tall, easily. The bush it was next to / behind was thin but tall. So I mean, yeah, if I had to, now I'm going to go measure because I want to know how tall that bush is. So, but around there, it was definitely taller than me. It was intimidating. Like if it was a person that big, there was no way I probably would have had the same reaction. Like I wouldn't have challenged that person.
You would have had to wipe.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Who said that, John? Yeah. That's funny. Yeah. Wow, that's a cool story. It's amazing.
I'm quite lucky. I think every time I still go hunt there. And believe it or not, I still feel comfortable enough to sleep up against a tree. So I didn't feel threatened or anything like that. I just was surprised more than anything. And I've been through every square inch. I was just out there this weekend looking along the river bottom because we had so much flooding and I knew there'd be a lot of fresh, wet sand. I was looking for footprints and things. And I found freshwater clams being the size of my hand. Right. So I have a picture. I'll send you guys the picture. It's unreal, the size of this freshwater clam shell that's there. And there's bald eagles that nest nearby. So there's clearly an abundant area that can support wildlife. It's just crazy. I love that area. It's one of my favorite places.
I thought I had a really good picture I could use as size comparison for wild boar, but everything is not appropriate without the warnings these days and everything from I got one a couple years ago with a knife, the Russian boar. So yeah, getting close with one of those things. Yeah, it's not a lot of.
Yeah, and usually you can. I've walked up to them too with a bow and stalked them, and you can't. This wasn't. Yeah, it was different.
If you're saying you're standing up and definitely we can see it in your face and everything like that. Joe definitely believes you. And we've had Joe out and been out to his location where he had a sighting. There's our man Fred. What's up, brother? We've been talking about you and your orbs. Okay. So, yes, John, my dog, Vita is moving around again after her knee surgery. She's out running. She's out moving with the shepherd tonight. So yes, they're back making lots of noise. Bigfooting with Mike Casey. I just sadly had a bolt. He just wanted to make. Now he made it back. I missed so much, but yep, you can rewatch it. Go to our YouTube channels, either Where's My Sage or Kristie's or Tactical Bigfoot Research, and you catch the video, or again the Spreaker, Spotify, iTunes for the replay. And it says Scott helped me big time around the Deduck Springs in Oregon with his map. So yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up. If you guys, outside of the web map and app, if there are researchers that are going to a specific area, I'm always happy to make maps that are georeference PDFs, for example. So you don't need signal internet to put yourself in the map through Avenza Maps. It's a free app. You can download. I can send you a georeference PDF, and you can use it in the field, even if you don't have internet. So you can. I'm always happy to do that. It's actually a lot of fun. Just don't flood me all at once, because I'd like to concentrate. But I'll let you know if I'm overwhelmed. But I am more than happy to supply field maps and things like that for research trips and expeditions.
All right, you got another. Scott is the coolest, and he just sent you a message. So, there's just so much. And Jay says, yes, the orbs and the red eyes and the kettle moraine, crazy. Yes, I've got Wisconsin to get out there with you, brother.
That'd be cool.
In the kettle, they've got a lot of stuff, but then you throw another cryptid on top of that, and how many folks in our community are reaching out with some of the other cryptids that they're seeing right alongside those Bigfoot things. You said you were in West Virginia, so you've got the Mothman stuff. You've got all that. Does that play sometimes over the top of things? And I realize that we're an hour and a half in, but we're on that track now. So,
One of the things, another cryptid that has come up that I didn't even know about until I started this project was Dogman. I didn't know.
Not my favorite.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Squirm, say that.
Most of the time, and so it's hard not to be biased, but most of the time I'm like, it's Bigfoot. You know what I mean? Like, I struggle with that to remain unbiased. But
well, the interesting thing is, we just got done talking about the wild pigs, and I was going through some. I redid the computer, so I got some of my hard drives out, and I'm looking at the Russian boar that we have, and one of my buddies got one that was, a couple 100 pounds. It was a big monster. It took a bunch of us to get out, but when you look at that head, it has that werewolf nasty looking, and and it just, if it was treeing something or moving along, you would really go, what is that? I mean, that's the other thing. And and now even in New York, we have 2 confirmed wolf sightings, that they've talked about. So what's coming back, and I think you having the ability to have the map, and even if there's other wildlife, are you asking for that? Like, we heard coyotes or something like that, and I saw there's a couple other little spots in there for extra data points, and we have some friends working on some other animal projects that would be kind of interesting. I run 5 or 6 apps for birds because I want to know what birds are in the area. Because are we hearing a bar owl? Are we hearing a crane? Are we hearing something else? That's
a whole nother podcast. I love birds. I wanted to be an ornithologist before I decided to do GIS. So love birds. So we could save that for a whole nother episode.
Yeah, we've got that mutual friend that I'm going to be grabbing soon to come on.
Cool.
Talk
Very
about
cool.
that. So
I think you touched on an interesting point, and it's come up a few times, like just recently, the Black Cat report. And Gil asked me what animals are coming back that previously had to be people that had sightings of them had to virtually defend their sighting and their report, right? And one of them I mentioned was the wolf in New York recently, where they had the DNA sample that was 99% gray wolf. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then the other one, the giant squid, they mentioned. We talk about mountain gorillas, which were discovered in the 1900s, but there was always lore about them. So there's so many species that really, like the Tasmanian tiger is another one that could be out there that are documented, if you will, that have gone extinct according to modern science. But then we get reports like you just brought up, and everything goes out the window, right? Because now it's all changed. So it only takes one report. It only takes one verified test, right? Like DNA test, or one really, really not blob squatch picture, right? So
like Forrest constantly does. I don't know how Forrest Galante does, but I mean,
I would love to talk to him about how he figures out how to find that one turtle on the island that's been extinct for 300 years, but he found the only one out of 2, right, that are alive. Yeah, he's got a talent.
Or how he picks a trail camera. That man is.
Or he has a gift and he's tapped into his intuition. Just saying.
Well, he's friends with. He's friends with Aaron that we did the live from in Florida because they were all on Naked and Afraid. So friends with Mal, a lot. We've interviewed quite a few folks from Naked and Afraid on the show, and he was one of those original Naked and Afraid guys. But he is so good. They're like, no, you don't make good TV kind of guys, because he just showed up with a scuba mask. So like literally started fire, purified his water. He like fed the crew. I'm having flashbacks. You telling me, running through the cactus. I was doing a film shoot with Dave West, who's their photographer, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm running all the mirrored reflective stuff. Is usually, and I'm backing up through every cactus because I'm not paying attention to what's in front of me."
Yeah,
but I got to work a piece of river that he filmed his wolf episode, his Florida wolf episode on, and I'm on there, and I didn't see half the stuff that he was just reaching into here's this turtle, here's this snake.
Yeah, it's a talent.
I saw that ahead of time, and Aaron, who's a guide, is just like, and on Naked and Free as well, is just, well, you're not going to see all this stuff unless you're down here all the time. And he's like, yo, you got to go out around that bush. Well, why? Or Larson will tell you, I'll run right through a bush. And he's like, hey, there's like rattlesnakes and you're not wearing boots. And yeah.
What the hell's wrong with you? God. But then
we got rattlesnakes here, but
yeah, but I can vouch for the fact that when this guy's out in the woods, he's like tunnel vision, zoom. He goes into his zone, like I go into mine, and he's like gone.
Well,
and I'm like, okay, don't worry about me.
It's so easy.
Just,
Like it's so in the wood. I mean, it's a skill, I think, and that's another thing that it's interesting you brought up, but it's a skill. Like Forrest Gallant, he has it's the skill of being situationally aware. I think you can develop that, you can work on it, and especially in the wilderness, I mean, everything wants to hide from you, right? So you have to be able and be skilled to pick it out and know where it's going to be, know its behavior, know what you're doing. And I mean, recently I was just up in Colorado in the San Juan Mountains elk hunting, and you would think that it would be really easy to find an elk, right? They're giant, they're huge, and they run in herds generally, right? And I think I saw one. We saw one, the group I was with, before a blizzard rolled in, but that was over the period of 3 or 4 days, right? So I just think that's the other thing, that it goes hand in hand with, you can still have all of the data like I have in the map here. You can constantly have, you can have it all on paper, but it's developing that skill in the field that really complements that. And I think that's a really good thing to bring up, because you're not going to find all the answers just on your screen here. This is part of it, but I think the big part of it is the field research as well, ground truthing it.
Yeah, I mean, she jokes, but this thermal camera is like mounted to my head pretty much wherever I go, and but it saved us from walking into some bears in New York just recently.
Nice.
We were up filming. Alex was doing a Beyond the Trail of, up in Whitehall, and I'm like, hey, there's something to the right, and and here's a bear, moving right along. And
I have family not far from there in Shushan, believe it or not. Tiny. Go to Ushaks in Shushan, and you'll see a small town store.
Never even heard of that.
Grocery store. Yep. Yushaks. Ushaks. I don't even know if it's still open on the Battenkill River. Yeah.
Okay. Well, next time I go chasing moose again, and Kristie, we got lost. Never mind. And again, mapping is so important, folks. Learn how to use your map. We were there the weekend.
Paper map.
Yes.
Paper maps.
Garmin went down that weekend, so we had no GPS. We had no cell phones. And my paper map was buried in the bottom of my Jeep. So we spent 2 hours of hell in the car. That would have been
15 miles an hour.
Yes. Along the Moose River.
It was.
Yeah. Didn't see any moose. So
awesome.
Yes. Let's see. I just want to see.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
John Ayers, we do not have giant squid in New York.
No.
Yes.
John, I've seen some things in that.
That's hysterical.
Because I was an ROV operator. I'm still an ROV operator.
You'd be surprised. There's been whales in the New York Harbor. Up the Hudson River, there's been whales. Yep.
Well, there's been sharks, halfway down through, you get the Greenlands and stuff. But, John's really pushing here, let's cross the streams and give Scott a read.
Well, it's funny that he keeps saying that, because I don't know if anybody noticed, I have been taking notes for like at least 45 minutes. So I've had a gentleman here with me for a while.
A gentleman.
But I didn't want to interrupt the discussion. So I just kept taking notes. Are you interested in?
Oh, you can't start and say that and then not. How do you say no to that? Of course. I think
all right.
It seems like a few people in the chat are interested as well. Scott, run. Is this the time when I pretend to be frozen?
Yeah. Oh, I forgot. John, we have to talk to John about ground mapping for mine rescue. Yeah, we got to talk about that.
Oh,
hey, listen, John, pick a side here, dude. I mean, you just transitioned us to.
I know, right?
Hey,
John, I am very interested in speleological data, right? That's cave data, speleological. Yeah. It's very hard to get. They're very protective of it. And when you ask the groups for some of their data and you tell them it's for Bigfoot research, they don't necessarily share it. So if you have access
Why?
to that, they don't take it seriously, the request, right? They unfortunately, even if I point them at the website and show them maps I made, that they deny the request generally, because they're one of the things is they're worried I'm going to publicize it in a way that people can access the, and it's dangerous, right, to know where some caves are. So I think I understand their reasoning for safety, but I mean, that's beside the point. I would obviously respect a responsible way to present the data, but yeah, but I can understand. So yeah, speleological data is on my list of wish list. Hard to get.
Oh,
interesting.
Hey, Joe. Just want to say hello. Jesse's at work.
Hi.
So they're getting some cool stuff. They just did some really cool things with some thermal out of West Virginia that Steve did with Joe Purdue, and Jesse and Joe from Hellbent were down there. If you guys get a chance, take a look at that. That was on Sunday night. There's something upright moving that was it's hard. I mean, it's probably some of the best thermal I've seen.
As long as it's not in a sundress.
Yes. Before Kristie hits that, though, you know, that's kind of almost like a conspiracy. You know, we joke about the conspiracy stuff, but you mentioned having relatives in, you know, law enforcement and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Did you get the standard corporate answer from that particular agency that they released one Bigfoot and one mountain lion together and one Bigfoot and one wolf together by any chance?
I'm not
sure. Do you ever ask him what their stance, that agency's stance was on Bigfoot?
You'll be interested, and he's going to kill me, but I never got an official answer. However, I can say that every new article that comes out, I have multiple family members that are in that agency. Them and their friends send me the link to the newest Bigfoot sightings. So I don't know what that says, whether they're just sending it to me or not, but I take it to mean they're interested at the very least. So I don't think I'd get an official answer from them necessarily. And they've got a historic, on a serious note, they're historically known for not acknowledging like mountain lions. There's been in New York State, wolves is a great example, even though we now know that there's at least 2 examples. So I don't think I'd get the answer I'd be looking for anyway from them, but it is fun to kind of tease them from the other side of the fence. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I asked once, and that was the first response, and then 2 years later, from 2 other individuals, got the exact same response. So
yeah,
I'm
going to ask now. Now I'm going to ask officially now and see what the response is.
And I see London's working that thought. So Kristie, I will hand over for you.
I ain't did nothing. I have 2 here now.
I am a little nervous, honestly.
Me too, right?
That's not good. That's not good to hear that from without knowing what you're nervous about. Is this HD? Can you see the sweat?
Oh, whatever. Get out of here. All right. Let me just write this down. Okay, so the first gentleman who came in earlier, like halfway through the show, he's taller, and I would say he's leaner. He only showed me what he wanted me to see of himself, but I could see a dark just silhouette of him. So he was there. So first he was like over here on the other side of the room, then he was over here, and then he was over here. Like he just kept moving, almost like, I guess I didn't really think about it, but the more I'm doing this, the more I feel like he was surveying and observing more than anything. Taking it all in is what I am kind of hearing. So he let me see, like, a little bit of his hair. I feel like he was good looking. Like when I looked at him, he was easy on the eyes. He was nice to look at. He also showed me his pants. His pants were pleated, and they're very much like what my one grandfather used to wear. From like, I feel like it's the 1930s or 40s. They would wear those pants. They were little,
like newsies,
but poofier, right? And at one point, he kind of just leaned like he was leaning up against a wall, and he, crossed one foot over the other, and he was just standing there. But he has a pipe. And the pipe was smoking. And then eventually he started doing, like, a little bit later, he started like taking the pipe, like, like this. And he's like, then put it back in his mouth, like, yeah, right. Almost like he was gesturing. He wasn't talking to me at all. And the way that he comes through tells me that he was unable to communicate either effectively or at all at the time he passed. I do feel like this is a grandfather. It could be a great-grandfather, but I feel like it's more of a grandfather. I also get a strong connection to the mother. So I feel like he was probably on the maternal side. Or if that's not the case, he thought of your mother more like a daughter if he is in fact your father's. Just at this point, because I have more, are you able to validate any of this at all? Even if it's not yours.
Oh, no. My grandfather was tall and lean, and I'll share a story after. You just made me remember, but
hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Because I have more, so I don't want you to tell me anything else but thank you. So this is your grandfather I'm describing?
It sounds similar. Yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, I wrote down that he is a strong, silent energy, and he's very observant. Would that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Popcorn. How do you connect with popcorn? It may have nothing to do with him.
No idea. Popcorn.
Okay. Very strong. Okay. I know nothing about you. I've looked up nothing about you. I feel like you have a son.
Not that I know of. So this will be a surprise.
Okay. So
however, my wife may be pregnant, so that's we're waiting to find out. So I hope my family doesn't watch this. So that's really,
I'm so sorry.
Well, now I'm just going to start thinking of boys' names. So
okay. So, but I kept seeing a little boy. Okay. He had a teddy bear.
Okay.
So the other thing is, and potential congratulations, by the way, if she is indeed.
Thank you.
But could there be, or is there now, somebody that's close to you that you would look at or consider to be like a son to you?
Not really that I can think of off the top of my head.
Okay.
No.
Or how about this? Somebody, I really don't think, I think this, okay, I'm going to move on. So,
okay. This is interesting. I've never done anything like this.
Without getting into too much detail, your grandfather's message to you, number one, he wants you to know that he is definitely always around you. And he, with the work that you do in the limelight and behind the scenes, there's something you've got going in your head. There's a project or something you want to go after and do, and you're hesitant or you're not sure if you should pursue whatever this is. He says, go for it. He says you need to do it, and he's going to be there to help you do it. Like you have to.
Interesting.
He's excited. Like it's like we have to do this. Like you have to do it so he can do it too.
Okay.
Okay. And I feel like this is more for like the behind the scenes stuff that you like to do. And then I got a P, like for a Peter or a Paul, something like that. So how do you connect with P?
I have an Uncle Pete. He's still around. So
okay. Would this be any connection to the grandfather that's coming through?
No.
Okay. And that's okay. I could have been picking up on more than one.
Not that I know of, right? I don't know.
Okay. You have an Uncle Pete, you said?
I do. Pete.
I feel like he's...
Well, actually, my now that I think about it, my grandfather's father's name was Philip. My brother's middle name is Philip.
Thank you.
That's weird.
So you're
I just didn't think of it right away because it's
no,
soft,
and that's
soft
happens.
PH, right?
Nope, that happens. So, because I wasn't sure when I got the P if they were showing me Peter Paul because they wanted to accentuate the P for me, or if it was those names. So that's why I had to offer it all. So, but I'll send you a picture of my notes. I wrote P first, and then they offered Peter, like Pete/Paul. So that's how I have it written. And who is this again? Philip? Who is this?
Philip's my grandfather's father, or great grandfather.
The same grandfather I'm talking about now?
Yeah.
Okay, so now that I know this is not the grandfather's name, what is your grandfather's name, the gentleman who's with me?
Richard. They called him Dick, believe it or not. That was his nickname.
No, I believe it. The reason I'm laughing is because it was my dad's name too.
Is it? Okay.
All right. So your grandfather was a gentleman. He just tipped his hat to me.
Sounds like him.
He laughed and said I was a real ladies' man. I feel like he in his own head would think that, but truly he was not. Like he didn't. You know, he really because he started to laugh when he said it. So this one, I had a different man come in, and your grandfather, Richard Dick, is coming through, looking like he's, I'm going to say late 40s to mid 50s. That doesn't mean you had to pass them. They can come through looking however they want. This other one though, he's shorter.
Okay.
And I put him in 20s or 30s, and I feel like he was younger, like maybe in his 20s.
Mm-hmm.
He's dressed almost like you'd see the younger boys dressed back in those days, where he has the actual like knicker pants, short pants on, and he's got the little newspaper hat.
Yeah, like Newsies. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yes.
Yeah.
How can you connect with that? Does that?
I really have no idea. That's
okay.
I'd have to think about that. That's
okay. I have a feeling you don't know. I have a feeling like your parents or somebody else is going to know who this is, because I do feel like this man or this male died younger. I don't think you know, but here's the thing. So I went back and forth between your grandpa and this other gentleman who's here now, or who came in second. And what I saw, they both showed me like not a 3x5, but what is it, like the 5x9 or something like that, pictures in a frame on someone's table, like a nice table in a hallway or in a living room. So I want to say both of them were telling me they know there are pictures of them out on a table like that somewhere. But what does that mean to you? What kind of connection can you make with that?
One of the things we did recently, I got married in October, and we put pictures of all of our family, everyone who had passed. We put them in frames.
So here's the thing, your grandfather, because your grandfather, although he's presenting to me around like mine and Mike's age, let's say, like middle-aged, he showed me, and then he showed me that he aged and he was elderly in this picture. So, and he had whiter hair.
What hair he had left, was white.
Okay, so it was whiter. So like he showed me that he aged. So like how he was presenting now and how he is here is not what he looked like in the picture that was put out. And actually he's showing me that the color of the frame looked like more of like a maple color, like the maple wood color.
Yeah. They were all wood frames. Yeah.
So know that he knows.
Wow.
And he's like patting his heart going like this, saying like he truly appreciates it. And he says, I've always got your back.
That's very
and
nice
something about reading to you when you were little.
Yeah. There wasn't a book he didn't read.
I was going to say,
honestly.
I know that sounds very generic, but but I can tell it's special because even my grandfather, who just passed last year, that's like one of the memories I'll always have of him. You know, I have certain memories of him, certain memories of my other grandfather. My other grandfather didn't read to us. We did other things with him. This grandfather, there were certain stories he read to us every time we sat on his lap. He read our backs. It was awesome. Like that's
even through high school, he would give us books to read. I mean, that was his thing.
Books were significant.
Very, very to him. Very, very.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Awesome.
He says, I love
you.
Love you too, Grandpa. Glad to hear that. I'm very happy to hear that.
You talk to him.
Huh?
You talk to him. Whether it's in your head, whether it's out loud, you talk to him. You acknowledge him. Yeah. So he says, I hear you. He goes, but could you tone it down a little bit and maybe watch the language?
I'll try.
He's like, you talk my ear. I can hear you. You don't need to yell.
That's funny. I do think about both my grandparents quite a lot.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's it, my friend.
What? That is mind-boggling.
And then try to add that to Bigfooting on top, where she points us where we're going to go.
I've never done anything like that. First off, thank you for doing that. I can't imagine that's doesn't take a toll. Thank you. That's very beyond my understanding. I will certainly say that.
Oh,
I'm very grateful to hear that.
Yeah.
Crazy. So much. I'm so glad this is recorded because I'm going to replay this over and over and try to understand
it. Sorry. We'll talk later. But yeah. So yeah. And I will send you a picture of my notes if you can read them.
I would love that. Thank you. I will share this with you. You reminded me of a story. My grandfather and my grandmother both passed on the same day. My grandfather, Richard, actually said he could hear his wife calling him, and he decided to pass that same day. They had their funeral together. They were buried together. So,
can I ask what the date was that they passed? Because I'm being told to ask about the date.
It was in August of 2013.
What was the date? Do you know?
I think it was the 16th.
Okay.
What were those numbers at the top of the show?
Oh, 1 and an 8. Because I'm being shown 28 right now. What's 28 mean to you?
That's a good question. I don't know.
So it may come to you later. So 28.
Yeah, I can't say I was mentally
28.
prepared. I was not mentally prepared for these kinds of questions.
I know. And you know what? People come when they come for readings all the time and they know they have an appointment. And it's the same. You know, they just all of a sudden they're like, I wish I would have written it down. Now I have other questions and now it's just gone, you know, because it's a lot to process. It's a lot to take.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, it is very much. I'm kind of dumbfounded, really. Like speechless. And that is, if you know me, not something that happens frequently. True, honestly.
Oh,
wow.
Well, tell your wife to chillax too. She's pretty cool. I can tell.
She is very cool. That's why we're married.
Tell her to chillax.
She's very supportive, very married. And I will tell her, Kristie says to chillax.
Yeah. And I don't know why they're saying it like that, but they are. So, and those are her spirit guides. I have to be specific. Her spirit guides are being said that.
I will relay that. Happily. This is great. This is
congratulations on just getting married too. How fun.
Thank you. We New Orleans New Orleans wedding in October, and couldn't be happier. It was great. We actually got a piece, one of my wedding gifts. There's a famously haunted hotel there, and I forget the name of it. My wife would kill me, but I'll let you guys know after the show. Randomly, we got in an Uber, and the Uber driver had worked in the haunted hotel, And as a gift, he gave us a piece in a frame from the restoration of the hotel. So we have a legitimate piece of the building in a frame
so cool.
that we got as a wedding gift after the wedding from somebody random in New Orleans.
How cool.
Very cool.
There is a good one up there that people have gone. And I know another group just went not too long ago to some hotel up there. People do, and I can't think of
There's
the
a lot.
name.
New Orleans is famously extremely haunted. Yeah.
I know. I need to get there. I was there when I was like 6. Now I need to go again and do this.
Yeah, you might enjoy it a little more now.
Joe, if you're still in the audience, I know he and Jesse were down living in New Orleans for a while. He might have that, and they're paranormal guys. When I first met it, well, actually, I met them through the knife community.
I'm honestly
weird. We started with the knife community and ended up in the Bigfoot community, and it's just a whole nother weird.
This is blowing my mind. I never expected to do a show and then wind up sitting here dumbfounded like this.
I have that effect on people. I'm sorry.
The comment from John. Okay, guys, time to look Scott's brain. Kristie, when was the last time we've talked? It's just there. Lafayette.
Oh man, that's not fair.
Yeah. Okay.
That's where my wife is from, Lafayette.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah.
I love it. Yeah, we have to get there. That would be awesome.
That's why I say, when I was driving home from work today, I'm like, okay, we're gonna take thinking about your Bigfoot mapping project and the data we're collecting for this creature, and I'm like, but there's nothing out there for the paranormal community. We've got all these hotels across the country. We've got all these other sites, and just we have UFOs in this area. And years ago, I asked one of the local MUFON folks that, hey, can you give me a list of your UFO sightings? And this is 3 years before we had the whole Tic Tac incident. And I joke with my buddy David. He just it was part of 2 really good projects, The Phenomenon and Contact there with James West. And I'm like, he was fine on the paranormal. He's fine on the UFO. You bring up Bigfoot, he wants to run the whole other way. But I sat him down with Paul Bartholomew recently. I'm like, well, why don't you guys take your list? Because you, especially being down from the Hudson Valley.
Yeah.
I did an interview for another podcast, and they're busting my chops about Bigfoot. And then
both my parents will tell you they saw one the year before I was born. It's famous. It's actually been referenced on the Hudson Valley, the UFO sighting, big triangular.
Right down to Taconic.
Yep. They swear. And they were in Westchester, right? Which right off the Taconic, right? And they swear. Both of them will tell that story. It's very interesting. And
that was just it. It was the host is like, well, yeah, you and Bigfoot. Well, and then in 1976, my mom and I were driving on Taconic, and I'm like, yeah, okay. How close were you to Nuclear Lake? Where were you here on this? And how many sightings were along that stretch?
Yeah.
That we have Champ, we have
maps,
whatever. And it's, again, folks, if you're going to collect your data, map it out. And
now, one of the reasons I think you asked me earlier why I haven't done a paranormal a sister site, and I think I'm very passionate about Bigfoot and wildlife and being outdoors. And I don't want to come across as dispassionate or opportunistic and just throw it out there to do it. I think I'd like to be able to put real energy and real thought into the project. And I haven't built an interest in that. Yeah, I'm not passionate about it like I am about Bigfoot. So that's why I haven't done that avenue. And I mean, it's a great idea, but I don't think I would want to do it well. And the saying is like, do one thing and do it well. And that's what I'm trying to do. So when we find Bigfoot, I know what my next adventure is.
Well, and like you said, data collection is huge, and getting all those data points and getting them in there. And that's what we, all of us have played around with that other group that Amy runs, that we've talked with, and we've had Amy on.
I think Amy is one of the best people on the planet.
Yeah.
Period.
she networks people, and that's and don't worry, she did it to Amy too. She does the star, I guess. Spin us down. But folks that are listening, and that data is important. So I put Scott's website on there, but you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, right? And the app, I mean, it's in the different Play stores and stuff like that. It's great. And I know you've got a lot of folks that have been looking at historical data, and they're giving you good historical data.
They are. It's only gotten better. I've one of the things I thought to do, and I'm trying to, if I can plug it, it's very new. It's a new idea. I've created a new survey for researchers specifically, so that people can follow along in the map with one of their researchers that they're interested in following. And I think the map would be a nice platform for somebody, I don't know, that's in the field to share in a new context, right? Not just an Instagram or YouTube post, but I think people could actually follow along on the adventure and learn through the map with these folks. So that's one thing that I just you're in the chat that I sent out to everyone. So I'm curious to hear how that goes from everyone's perspective, but it's very new, and I'm excited to see how people utilize it, because it hopefully opens up a new medium, pun intended, for researchers.
Like it, love it.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome, because you get somebody that's traveling like Alexander Petikoff. Where are you guys going? Like I said, I use your map to kind of, where am I going to plan my trips? Where am I going to go? Okay, well, there's some sightings. I can go down through here and go through the URA, or I'm going to head down and see Larson and those guys down there, or catch Eric Altman in Pennsylvania. Well, what's my trip going to be, down that way, or go stop over and see Ryan, and, it's just an awesome way of looking at things. It used to be, I had everything on Google Maps, and with, Android Auto, I could kind of drive, and we could, pop our points in, but it just feels a little screen. So having this and having the app, and you just keep going.
In the app, you can put yourself in the app, your GPS location. So it's just like any other mobile app. You can see a little blue dot on the screen and you can navigate that way. One thing about the app is people are going to ask, because you've mentioned it's on the stores. It is $1.99, but I hopefully justify that pays to keep the website running and the software licenses. That is what it's for. And an added benefit is it keeps the trolls out. Trolls are notoriously cheap. So if they have to pay for something, they're less likely to disrupt the environment. So
I think $1.99 is quite reasonable, considering
it's not a subscription. It's not a subscription, but it does help. It really does. I just renewed all the software for 2023, and it adds up. But throughout the year, the apps. I mean, you guys know you use a lot of software, StreamYard, etc.
I have the StreamYard. I have a website. It's expensive.
Yeah, so it does help keep the lights on, and I am grateful for everyone who's bought the app, because it does help keep the project alive.
Yeah, and we're always, if you are doing something new, we've had somebody on, we're always want to get that information out. Yeah, and guys, for less than a cup of coffee, pretty much, because
seriously,
I mean, less than an egg.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
but
maybe I'll make a map to all the cheap eggs next.
Yeah, but that's just it. Like we don't do Patreon or something like that. This is our passion to get everything out for everybody. And when we're doing a podcast or something like that, Kristie has her readings, and we both have full-time jobs, and we just kind of try to get this out to everybody. But
I've had a wonderful. You guys, I have enjoyed this very much, and I'm still like recovering from Kristie.
Yes.
I'm not gonna lie,
and we're gonna have to kind of wrap it up there on the 2-hour point there. But guys, go please look at Scott's stuff, and I'll let you really let us know where we can find you and stuff. And I hope we hit most of the key points. If we didn't, we can have you back on to really hit those.
Oh, it would be my pleasure. I'm a little nervous for next time, though.
I don't bite.
No, it's
I may kick or pinch a little. I don't bite though. I mean, come on.
Let's see. I guess is it okay to let everyone know, like you said, where
Yes.
they can find me and stuff?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
please do. Mhm.
First thing, if you would like to check out the project, it's www.bigfootmap.com. And I'm on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. I kind of just post everything to Facebook as well, but Instagram is where it's at for me. It's at Bigfoot Mapping Project on Instagram. And if you are so inclined, or you have an idea or constructive criticism, please, or even not constructive, I'll read that too. Please feel free to email me. My email is scott@bigfootmap.com. And I will do my best to get back to you. It depends on what's going on with work. I wish this was my full-time thing, but sometimes it takes a little longer to get back, but I will do my best. And again, thank you, Kristie and Mike, and thank you to everyone here. And I'm very grateful to be able to talk to both of you. This is great.
Awesome.
Likewise.
If you want to hang for a sec, and then Kristie will have that information. Yeah. So I'm going to pull you out of the studio.
Yeah. Don't go anywhere.
She's got more for you.
I'm not going anywhere.
All right.
This sounds juicy.
All right. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Thank you both. This is great.
Thank you. Aww.
All right.
He's a sweetheart. Oh my God.
I told you.
I like him better than I like you.
Nobody likes me. I'm just here to push buttons, and I can't even do that right tonight. So yeah, I hear Vita in the background. So I told them
that you're cute.
In 45 minutes ago.
Bed.
So yeah.
Poor
so
Vita.
thank you all for joining us tonight, and we appreciate everything. And
we love you.
Else
we
before
love
I hit you. Where's my countdown? There it is. Okay,
just don't cut us off prematurely. That's that's all I ask.
Yep. Let me give it a shot. All right. Good night, all.
All right, everybody. Have a wonderful week. Stay safe.
And sample on.
Good night.